asked myself, who am I when I don't add value to other people's lives? And I was like, I don't know. For a second, I was like, I don't know who I am. And for a moment, I was in shock. And it wasn't until like I shortly after journaled on it that I like quickly came back to all the beautiful things that I am as a human, which I don't even need to be anything. Like every single one of us are enough as we are. We do not need to do anything to be worthy of love, to be enough. However, I did need that little reminder of all the things that I am as a human, the things that I love about myself. I needed to connect with that. So I took my journal out and I was like, who am I when I'm not adding value to others? Because I show up every day and I'm like, how can I add value to people? And I had to like connect with myself. Wait, who am I if I were to not be able to do that?
Hi, my name is Pernilla, and this is my Challenge Your Norm podcast. I'm absolutely obsessed with anything related to personal development. And well, to grow, we got to challenge our norm. And so on this podcast, we chat about life and how we can challenge our normal way of living it to make it greater than we could have ever imagined. Just one little belief, habit, bold move, and challenge at a time.
Hello, my beautiful friend, and welcome back to another episode here on my Challenge Your Norm podcast, where today we are going to be talking about people pleasing and learning to really love and maybe even date ourselves. I grew up being a people pleaser, and I believed that if I was not a good person through someone else's lens, in someone else's eyes, if I did something wrong, something that maybe upset someone else, I was not a worthy or good human being. And I've worked a lot on learning to love myself and understand that I am good regardless of what someone else potentially maybe thinks of me. And I do believe that the more I've learned to love myself, the more of a better person I've actually become towards everyone. Because when we hold love for ourselves, we have way more love to give to others. But the other day, I realized that there was a lot more growth to be done, or at least I had this like realization about a new level of learning to understand and know my worth. And it all came from Alex and I, my boyfriend, having a discussion. We work as in like just like talking. We like to dig deep into, we're both very into self-development. So we'll discuss topics without it being like arguing, but just having two different opinions and trying to understand each version, each side of the coin. Because we're two people who are very good humans who strive to constantly be better and grow, but we do it in two very different ways. I'm someone who acts constantly. I get an idea, I act on it, I do my best. It's imperfect. I put it out there and I move on and I don't ever think about it again. And then on to the next. And I move at a rapid speed. I get as much done as I can in the day. And he has gained so much success in life and grown so much as a human and really gained mastery within different areas of his life from acting in a completely different way. He will reflect on something for a long time. He will really make sure that the idea is perfect and think about it from all different angles and research and really dig in deep. And once he feels that he's ready to put something into action, he goes for it, which means I take a lot of action that maybe I could, each action, let's say I put out 10 actions a day, each action that I do, I could spend the entire day on and it would get better. But instead of focusing on one thing that I could do perfectly, I focus on putting out 10 things, which is something I'm really trying to find a balance in, because I do realize that every time I focus on a little fewer things, they do tend to end up being better. However, I believe that I have learned so much from just going for it, like getting an idea and just going for it and making a lot of mistakes on that journey. Now, what we spoke about was that I've made a lot of mistakes personally within my fitness journey. Oh, my phone is calling. I just got a phone call from my manager from the apartment complex back in LA who is having issues with some people who've been staying in my apartment. And that has been an ongoing thing for the last 2 months since I've been here. I rented out my apartment to some people who have just been causing all the other tenants a ton of issues. And well, so yeah, I'm going back to LA tomorrow to figure that out. And then we'll be on our way again on our travels once I find a solution for it. But where were you? I have really realized that when I put my focus into certain things and less tasks, not only do I feel better, but also it does help me gain more momentum within that area. And even though I feel like it's gotten me so far taking this much action, I've learned so much from these mistakes that I've been making. However, because I am someone who has been sharing my life online when it comes to my fitness journey, I've been sharing a lot of what I eat things and how I go about my workout and different just habits that maybe at the time I felt were good for me, but taken out of context for someone looking from the outside may see me do something and then take that on because they're like, oh, if Pernilla is doing that, then I will do that too, without the context behind it. And so I have a lot of responsibility, right? As someone who shares online, but I've taken a lot of pride in being the person that has dared to be vulnerable and has dared showing up imperfect and showing that I'm literally just learning as I go. And if you look at my content today from 2 years ago, you'll see a difference. And a year before that, you'll see a difference. Like I continue to evolve, or at least I hope so. And if you see a video from when I started my journey, I would probably share a lot of tips that I wouldn't be preaching today because I, on my journey, have realized that those things are not the greatest. When I was talking to Alex, we were kind of like going back and forth between like what's actually best, because what if I didn't start sharing anything till now on my journey? Then I maybe wouldn't have impacted the amount of people that I have impacted on my journey as I started sharing the things that helped me at the time. But I also wouldn't have put myself in a position where I shared something that maybe wasn't true, wasn't accurate. And there's no right or wrong. He believes that, or he at least in his life is the kind of person that wants to really become a master within a field. And once he feels like he's fully mastered that skill, then he wants to share. Where I'm someone who wants to share imperfectly throughout the journey, which the plus about that is that I'm going to impact a lot of people on the journey, hopefully, right? But the minus that could come from that is that maybe I'm sharing something that I, at the time, have the best intention to be sharing because it feels so right in my body right now. But maybe a few years later, I'll realize that, oh my God, what I shared back then wasn't actually accurate. And those people who were listening to me back then maybe took that on and saw that as like, okay, if Pernilla is saying that, then that's the right thing to go about. And I know, like I was on the Challenger call yesterday and heard the most beautiful challengers share these stories with me about how they've been following me for years, and I've really impacted their life on such beautiful levels, and I got so touched by it. So I know I've been helping everyone on the journey, and I've kind of prided myself in the fact that I dare show up imperfect. I dare be real and raw instead of making everything look perfect online. But after a discussion, that got me to question myself on something, because my life mission, I have for the last many years known, is to help impact as many people for the good as possible. And then I was thinking, like, because Alex just gave me a random question, like, where would you be today if you had just, instead of shared on the journey, if you just like dug your head in and figured it out for your own body, become a master, and then shared? Like, where would you have been today? And, just as like a curiosity question. And I was like, I don't know. And I asked myself, who am I when I don't add value to other people's lives? And I was like, I don't know. For a second, I was like, I don't know who I am. And for a moment, I was in shock. And it wasn't until like I shortly after journaled on it that I like quickly came back to all the beautiful things that I am as a human, which I don't even need to be anything. Like every single one of us are enough as we are. We do not need to do anything to be worthy of love, to be enough. However, I did need that little reminder of all the things that I am as a human, the things that I love about myself. I needed to connect with that. So I took my journal out and I was like, who am I when I'm not adding value to others? Because I show up every day and I'm like, how can I add value to people? And I had to like connect with myself. Wait, who am I if I were to not be able to do that? And I came up with a bunch of different things that I am very, very quickly. I was like, oh my gosh, I am, I am enough. I am good enough. I am love. I am all these things. But for a moment, I was like, oh, who am I? And the reason I find this very important to share with anyone who needs to hear this today is because I have been on this journey of trying to learn to love myself and understand that I'm enough, even when someone disagrees with me or when I am not people pleasing someone else, when maybe I'm taking care of myself and letting someone else down. And so a question I want to ask you today is, what is the thing that you feel that you have to be worthy of love? What is the thing that you constantly are striving for, fighting for, to feel like you're good enough for this life, to be worthy of love? Because the truth is, you're worthy no matter what. But when we're born, we come into this world, and depending on our upbringing, the people around us, we are taught or we are self-taught that in order for me to be loved, I have to be this. And I grew up, I feel very, very, very grateful for my upbringing. Great parents, a safe environment. We did move around the world a lot, and terrible divorce. Different things happened in my childhood, but I was very privileged hearing how other people grew up. But I do believe, regardless of how privileged we were and how loving of a home we grew up in, there's always something that makes us imperfect or have little flaws or things that we need to heal within. And for me, I felt that I had to be the good girl to be good enough, to be worthy enough. And so when I grew up, I continuously pleased everyone around me and made sure that I was the good girl everywhere that I went. And I would not take care of me because my focus would always be outward. It would be, who can I please, who can I take care of so that I'm good enough? And I would base my worth, my self-worth, off of how are the people in my life feeling about me? What do they think of me? And it wasn't until I started really developing a relationship with myself, which I'm going to get into how you can do as well, that I started to understand, Pernilla, you are enough. And when that happened, I could also start or stop people pleasing and take care of myself, set boundaries, and do the things that I wanted to do when it came to others. I could become more selfish. And many people have a negative connotation when it comes to being selfish, but I see selfishness as an incredible thing. I see selfishness as an incredible trait because when we're selfish, we can show up for ourselves. We can make sure that we are okay. And when we make sure that we are okay by doing the things that we need to do on a daily basis to function on our best, to feel at our happiest, then we can also show up for others better. And once I started practicing and understanding and learning to love myself and understanding that I am worthy as is, I'm not worthy dependent on what others think of me because I know I'm worthy. And a little exercise that I actually have been practicing recently, I'll give you others as well, but in my meditations in the morning, every morning I journal and I meditate. In my meditations in the morning, I have been going back into the living room of my childhood home, one of our childhood homes, where there was a fireplace. And I still can't remember what happened in the actual instance, but I just see my younger self, I believe maybe 5, 6, 7 years old, sitting by the fireplace, being sad, not feeling good enough. And what I've done in my meditations is I have gone into that space as who I am today, Pernilla, adult Pernilla. And I've gone in and held her and taken her hand and asked her, what do you need? And part of what she needed was to be taken to the kitchen, the dining table where my family was eating dinner, and being heard and being understood and being listened to. Because, I had an older brother and a younger brother, and there was always a lot going on. And so I would kind of be quiet to make sure that I didn't take up too much space. And I in that moment, wanted to be heard. And, the reality is, if I asked my mom and dad, I'm sure they would be like, yeah, of course we wanted to hear you. And they did the best that they could. And I really am grateful for my parents. I love them to the moon and back and all around the world. They're freaking incredible. I'm so, so grateful for them. But little Pernilla, she just wanted to be seen and heard a little bit more. And so I've done that in my meditations. It just felt so healing and so calm and so good. And I'm hoping that maybe this inspires you to do a little meditation and think back to a time where maybe you didn't feel good enough as a child, and stepping in that situation as your older self and taking care of that younger version of yourself. It's really, really powerful. Something else that I've spoken about a lot is looking yourself in the mirror, looking yourself in the eyes, and sharing positive things about yourself. And it may just start off by being, Louise Hay is the one who taught me this in some of her books, but like looking yourself in the eyes and sharing kind words to yourself. And it may start off light with just being like, I like you, Pernilla. I like if you're someone who has a lot of body negativity, starting off being like, I like your mouth. I like your knees, whatever that you can find that you maybe can potentially say out loud to yourself that you like. And then the more you practice this, I hope you would be willing to take on this challenge for the next 30 days, where every day you share something that you like about yourself. And even more powerfully is looking into your eyes. First, you can say, Pernilla, I like you. This is just an example, right? But then little by little, get to the point where you look yourself in the eyes and say, Pernilla, I love you. I love you. And giving yourself so much love. What we love, we take care of, right? And we walk around this world with a self-identity, with a belief about ourselves. And we act in alignment with that belief. And so if I can't get you to want to learn to love yourself just because it will make you feel freaking phenomenal within, oh my God, just thinking about that. I've shared this in a previous podcast episode as well, but like I used to lay in bed at night when I was a teenager and think about all the ways in which I throughout the day had been a terrible person. And trust me, I was never a terrible person. But what I mean by beating myself up by being a terrible person is that maybe I should have said a sentence better, or I should have helped more than I had already helped, or I should have not said that word wrong, like I pronounced it wrong. Like it was the silliest things, but I would beat myself up and have like sleepless nights because I was like, you suck, Pernilla, and be like, this person hates me now. When reality is like, everyone has always liked me. Yeah, of course there's been like, in school growing up, like there's been like girls, the typical like bullying girls stuff where someone would look at me meanly because, I mean, for me it was like, she's so naive and like she's like a talent stealer because I sang and I danced and it's just different things. So like it would be like the silly little like girl bullying stuff, but I've always been a good person. I've always been a nice person. And I've made mistakes, absolutely. And unintentionally, must have upset many, many people, but it's never been intentional. But I would just lay in bed and beat myself up. But I feel like I just went on a tangent. I was talking about something else. Guys, I've slept so well in Mexico. And last night, I did not sleep well. It really was because of this whole renter situation, because there's been so many complaints. And the reason I'm saying that is because my brain isn't functioning fully at this moment, I think. Sleep is so important. Oh, man. But yes, what we believe about ourselves is how we will show up for ourselves. When we like a person, we'll do nice things for that person, right? And then the more we like them, the more we're going to be willing to show up for them. And so the more we like ourselves, the more we're going to be willing to show up for ourselves. The more we believe we're capable of, the more we're going to be willing and daring to take action towards the things that we want. And a way to start believing in ourselves is do hard things. Like if we push ourselves towards doing things that we're scared of every single day, we are definitely going to believe in ourselves more, because we day in and out are believing that we're capable of hard things. And I'm going to use the example of working out, because we can all relate to that. When we've gone through a challenging AF workout and we've experienced our bodies go through the most hard AF things, we feel badass. And that badassness, it compound effects, and we're more willing to dare to do other things, right? Like we feel better about ourselves. We feel more confident. When we commit to some sort of challenge, any challenge, and we see ourselves show up every single day, we gain confidence, and we therefore believe more in ourselves. So if you need a little bit of confidence boost, go sign up, commit to something challenging. But going back to knowing that we are capable, knowing that we're enough, knowing that we are everything, we are love in the biggest, best ways, and worthy of everything and anything that this world has to offer, the more it's going to come to us. Because when we believe we're worthy, then we show up as a human that is worthy. And I am on a never-ending journey of trying to improve upon that. And I like to grab these opportunities. I saw this other day as an opportunity when I had this conversation with Alex, and I then asked myself, wait, who am I without adding value to other people's lives? Who am I when I'm just me? When I don't do, when I don't achieve, when I simply am me, and just reconnecting and reminding myself that I am enough just as me. And so are you. So are we all. We don't need to do anything to be enough. That is a powerful thought that I thought you needed to hear today, or someone out there needed to hear today. Because I also think it may make us show up more authentically, right? If I don't have to be something to be enough, I could just be and do what I actually feel drawn to, what I actually feel I want in my life. And I think that when we show up like that, we're probably going to walk towards more things that are actually meant for us. And my hope is that you listening today, you go on some dates with yourself. Whether that be morning dates where you meditate or you journal, or it's walking dates where you reflect on and question yourself, or it's I've gone on a few dates by myself being here in Mexico, where I've gone out to eat with myself and just sat with my own thoughts, or listened to a podcast. It feels wonderful. I think we also just tend to enjoy spending more time with ourselves when we feel like we're enough. If we don't have a relationship with ourselves, or we simply just don't like ourselves, it's very hard to spend time with someone we don't like, right? But we can learn to like. We can learn to appreciate ourselves for everything that we are. And I think that when we can see ourselves in clarity like that, we only become better in all areas, all aspects. We can, and if there's nothing like, we can want to improve within certain areas, I believe. But if we keep beating ourselves up over the things that we are, I don't think we're going to get anywhere. I think if we give ourselves love and we can see all of what we are in the good and the things that potentially need work, then we can actually do something about it, because we'll want good for the people that we care about. Going back to that, I hope that this podcast episode made a little bit of sense, because this girl's brain is not functioning at its 100%. I also tend to do these podcast episodes in the morning, and it is afternoon right now. So if I've been a little crazy Nazis, feel free to blame me, because that's just how I function in the afternoon on not a lot of sleep. I am going to be leaving Mexico tomorrow, and I am so sad. I have loved my life here, but we got to go home and take care of this apartment situation. And also, new adventures are about to happen once we fix that. And I am excited about the new adventures. We can enjoy where we are, and we can be excited for the things that are to come simultaneously, right? And something I just want to say is that I'm actually like, there's a few things going wrong and just generally right now. But there's also so many things going right. And in every single moment of every day, we decide, what do we focus on? Do we focus on the little things that aren't going right, or do we focus on the things that are going right? And I want to always choose to focus for the majority of the time on the things that are going right. I do want to take a look at what's not going right. Dig in, figure out what needs healing, what needs solving of issues, and what do I want to let go of? Yes, that needs to happen. And actually, as fast as sometimes we need a little time and then dig into it. But the faster we can dig into what's not going right and solve it in some way or heal it. If it's deep trauma stuff, take your time. Do not rush. But if it's small little things, okay, life happens. That's life. Figure it out. Find a solution, and then we move on and we keep focusing on the good. We keep focus on all the things in our life that are going right, because it's easy to focus on the wrong, but it is more of a scale to focus on what's going right. And I believe that life only becomes better when we choose to see those obstacles as opportunities and trust that there's a reason that it's happening, and therefore go back into this positive state. I'm about to go to the jungle gym, which if you've seen my Instagram or TikTok or shorts, you will have known that there's this like jungle gym, wooden workout gym here in Tulum, which I absolutely love. And we're actually thinking about moving to Mexico in the winter because we love it so much. So we will be back, but over the summer we got some traveling plans. So last jungle gym session, and then tomorrow we fly back to LA for a quick stop, and then Europe for a little bit. I'm excited. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. If you enjoyed it, if you find it valuable, if you feel like there's someone in your life that could really find use in learning to love themselves, if you didn't find this podcast episode a little too messy, a little bit too much all over the place, then I hope you want to share it with them. It helps me a ton. If you write a review, give me stars, subscribe, wherever you're listening or watching to this. I appreciate you so much. And as always, remember that in order for you to grow, you have to challenge your norm.